We've got a half a pack of smokes, 5 gigabytes of memory. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. Good morning, everybody. It's another perfect day in God's country. Everybody's just in time for coffee and Marlboros with your friend Lucky Haskins. Thank you for taking a minute out of your day to hang out with me, Lucky Haskins, for a moment of truth. Hopefully not mixed with lies. Truth with lies, I've been talking about lately, right? Credit where credit is due, the old Russian vids, as I still call them. Don't forget, I still call digital music records. So a lot of people correct me about a lot of things I say, and I always just remind them, hey, man, I still call music records, okay? Give me a break. The 80s were so badass, we don't want to leave. Sorry. We don't want to leave the 80s. By the way, man, I should leave a link to you guys. Every now and again, I just stumble upon something very wild and bizarre, and I should find a link for this and put it underneath this video. But recently I seen a actual video that someone posted on YouTube from the parking lot of a Judas Priest concert in 1984. Of course, folks, 1984 is like my heyday, right? I mean, I'm like 14, 15 years old. Party time. 1984, folks. I was living large and in charge, right? So I had to click on that, and man, first thing you notice is all these guys and girls are absolutely hammered, and it just took me right back, folks, because I mean, I want to elaborate on this a bit. The first thing, I'm going to put a link to this video if I can find it, and I want you all to go watch it and understand what the 80s really were. The very first thing, or the most important thing that I want to acknowledge when you go to the parking lot of the Judas Priest concert and you see all these partied out 80 people from the 80s, is that nobody had cell phones. And I want you to just look at the smiles. For anybody that hovers on the edge of, oh, this technology's wonderful and these phones are great. 1984, the parking lot of the Judas Priest concert. I want you guys to go check this out and look how freaking happy essentially they're children, right? Most of these people are, I would say, 14 to 24 or something, right? The young folks, most of them being 16 to 18, right? The young folks in the parking lot hours before the concert. I'm going to talk about this for a minute. I was going to talk about something else, but I want to talk about this because it was awesome to sit and watch this video. Sorry about the TV in the background. I guess I could go pause that. Hang on just a minute. I'm going to pause this. Hey, I'm back. I don't know if I paused that or not. I'm not sure what happened here. Is it rolling? Are we rolling? I think we're rolling. Rolling. I'll just feel something. I might not have even paused it. I don't know what the hell happened. But anyway, no more TV in the background. My wife was up this morning watching episodes of Raising Hope, if anyone's ever seen that. Pretty dang funny stuff, but whatever. She fell back asleep on the couch, so I'm going to have a Marlboro and some coffee and talk about the parking lot of the Judas Priest concert in 1984. Holy cow, folks, you got to check this out. The very first thing you notice is nobody's lost in space. Nobody's walking around with their frickin' cell phone lost in space. Now that this is running through my head, I got so much to say on this topic, we're probably going to stay right here. When the cell phone thing first started taking over, okay, I was way behind everyone else. In fact, the last road gig I played was in California. Now, we're going back a ways, folks, a little ways. The last road gig I played was in California, and I still had a flip phone. And when I pulled that flip phone out in California, man, it got a lot of attention. Apparently, they're way ahead of us out there. I mean, people were like, dude, my man's rocking the flip phone, retro, baby. Shit like that. And, of course, when I was on that same trip in California was the first time I ever almost got run over by an electric car. walking through a parking lot, and man, you can't hear it. I didn't know there was a car moving. I almost got hit. But yeah, there's that too. But anyway, when the cell phone thing first started, taking over, I had one kind of for business, but no way did I involve it in my social life. And I got pretty bitter pretty quick and started really scolding a lot of my friends. They'd call and go, "Hey, let's grab a beer, man. Okay, meet me at the inn at we had the place we used to hang out called the New Hudson Inn, little old rickety bar. Used to be. Now it's a happening place. Once people find out that cats like me are hanging out, I mean, well, you guys get it. Then the place gets popular, right? Hey, I'm only serious, folks. Don't pay no attention to me. Now, listen, so we used to hang out at this little joint. We could sneak in there at midnight, and there'd just be 4 or 5 of us in there drinking, whatnot. So, yeah, my buddies would call, "Let's grab a beer." "Yeah, man, meet me at the end. I'll be up there in 20 minutes. "All right, cool, man." And then I'd get there, and we're having a good old, get our beers and fixing to have a good old time like we always did. And what do fellas do when they go to the bar and they shoot the breeze? Well, back then, of course, we smoked and we cursed. God dang, I miss the old days. You can go in the bar, you get you a double whiskey, and you can curse and smoke. The good old days. People wonder why guys like me get so cynical. Gosh dang, because we want the good old days back. I won't hang out in a bar anymore, folks. I usually, if I do go in a bar, I get me a 6-pack to go, or a 12-pack or a 15-pack to go, or whatever. I don't drink that much anymore, believe it or not. So, it's not a big deal, but I can't hang out in a bar anymore. I mean, my goodness, folks. You don't go to a bar to follow the rules and regulations. I mean, granted, you don't go in there and cause a ruckus, but my goodness, if you can't go to the bar and drink and curse and smoke, where can you go, folks? That's why I drink outside at home when I do drink. I can't even really drink indoors anymore, believe it or not. It's kind of a strange thing. But drinking has always been an outdoor sport for me, particularly beer. If you're inside drinking, you need some scotch or something, or some bourbon. I like bourbon more than scotch, but just rolled off the tongue. I will drink some good scotch, don't get me wrong. But with all that said, beer drinking to me has always been an outdoor sport. I like to be outside with the fellas, having a cold beer, smoking a Marlboro, cutting it up, having a good old time, peeing behind the truck. You know the deal, folks. That's how Lucky likes to live. I like to drink beer and piss in the yard. That's what the 80's did to us, folks. So 1984, the Judas Priest concert parking lot. The very first thing you see is a shitload of happy, happy, happy people. I cannot stress this enough. I've noticed this at baseball games. I've mentioned this to other truthers and really gotten no response. But if you watch like a modern day World Series and watch the crowd, then kick back and watch the 1984 Tigers. There's that 1984 again. Go to the World Series and watch a video from the 1984 World Series with the Tigers and watch the audience. Bunch of nut jobs, man, having a ball. Everybody's so reserved and mellow now, and of course, everybody just staring at their cell phones. But yeah, folks, if you want a really good glimpse into how somebody like me was living in 1984. I'm going to see if I can find this video and put a link underneath to the Judas Priest concert parking lot pre-party, and just watch these people from the 80's. And if anyone's younger or whatever and didn't live the 80's, you're going to be like, all these people were so wasted, they make no sense. Yeah, folks, that's right. That's called a good time. And now I got to tell you, I was at a lot. I'm understating. Lucky went to a lot of big concerts in the early 80's through 85, 86 maybe. Then I started where I didn't want to go to arena shows and big rock shows anymore. But let me tell you, folks, in the late 70's, early 80's, concerts in Detroit, there's a reason why all of the bands used to say Detroit was the place. Detroit Rock City. You're going to lose your mind in Detroit Rock City. The Motor City Madhouse, etc., etc., etc. Because when a serious band came to Detroit, the party wasn't just at the concert like it is nowadays. The party was all day and all night. I mean, and when you go and if you go and see this Judas Priest parking lot, if I'm hoping I can find it now that I'm flapping my jaws about it, you will see that it's probably noon or something, and these people are shit-faced, hammered, drunk, and they're gonna make the show, folks. That's the thing. We partied that way all day back then. We were fine still at the show. It's hard to believe. But the other thing I was gonna say is when you're as partied and as buzzed as these guys are, they don't look as ridiculous. Like back then in the 80s when you were living this stuff and you walk around and you see all these hammered and drunk people, it's nothing but high fives and hugs and party time all the way around, you know. Judas Priest, right? Not a ton of chicks in this particular parking lot because it's Judas Priest. They weren't a huge chick band, but there's plenty of rock and roll chicks there. A lot of people ask me what was the best thing about the 80s, and I say the rock and roll girls. I told you the one story about the cops trying to get me to hook them up with some of my rock and roll chicks that would come around. That's because in the 80s, man, rock and roll chicks were great. I mean, they were the real deal. They liked to party and have a good time, and they poofed their hair up, and they, you know, would just dress so awesome, right? The fishnets and the belly shirts and the high heels and the, you know, rock and roll chicks, man. Us old guys remember that. Rock and roll chicks are gone. I must be an old fuddy-duddy, but I'm still trying to figure out why girls work so hard nowadays to make themselves look ugly. Does anybody else notice this, or am I just a dinosaur? All I see nowadays is girls that are trying as hard as they can to make themselves look ugly. And I reckon that's because the television told them to, or whatever's coming across their phone gadget, right? But it just, I mean, you know, a girl can wake up in the morning perfectly gorgeous and then, you know, dye her hair flaming purple blue and put 6 rings in her nose and 5 in her lip and tattoo her face. And, I don't get it, folks. As far as you young fellas, I'm really sorry. I say you find yourself a girl without a single tattoo. If you want to find a good girl, get one that doesn't go with consensus. Man, I don't know. I don't like tattoos on girls now. I won't say that across the board. There are some girls that wear tattoos well, right? Yours and mine friend, Karen B. Karen wears her tattoos well. I think she's really pretty myself. Whether you're a proponent of Karen's stuff or not, doesn't matter to me. Whether I am or not, doesn't matter to me. Karen looks pretty good in tattoos. There are chicks that their lifestyle and who they are warrants tattoos. But my goodness, nowadays, all these women are just slapping tattoos all over their bodies, meaningless tattoos. And you see them, and all the tattoos are brand new and bright, and none of them mean anything. And because they're all heavily indoctrinated, all their tattoos are demons and snakes and swords and, look out and, Lucifer rocks and whatever the hell they put on themselves. I'm getting way off topic, but am I the only dude? Maybe I'm the only one that's not gay now, because they do push the gayness a lot too. Maybe I'm the only straight white male left. I don't think so. But, and I'm not knocking anybody who ain't, whatever, man. You want to do that, go ahead. But, whatever. I'm just trying to say that I'm stumbling over my words. Is Lucky getting caught up in this new, hey, careful what you say shit? God dang it, man. I'm up and running this morning, eh, folks? Hell, I don't give a shit what I say. I'm a straight white male. And I got to tell you, there's not that many pretty girls running around anymore. What the hell happened? Okay? I don't want you to have spikes coming out of your nose. I don't want a bunch of stuff hanging on your lip. Hey, I'm sexy. I don't get it. Okay? Maybe I'm old. It's ugly. I like my 80s chicks rock and roll with the high heels and the hair poofed out. Thank you very much. Anyway, folks, none of that matters. I got tagged and tranquilized 10 years ago. So, in fact, we got an anniversary coming up. October 27th. If anybody's here and I got a video going on October 27th and I make a video and I don't mention that it's my anniversary, somebody remind me, will you? I should probably put it on her, eh? I'm not that old yet. I'm only serious. Hey, Yeah, 1984. Man, these people were just absolutely smiling, grinning, having a good time. I'm going to have to go look for that video before I upload this one so I can put a link on it. And hopefully, y'all have a good time with that if you want to click on that and see how it was for, like I said, I have seen Judas Priest live, but I don't remember ever going to a big Judas Priest show. It seems to me like I might have seen them. This may sound strange, but I think I seen Megadeth open for Judas Priest once, and it was like at Cobo Hall or something. And that's how I saw Judas Priest. Not that I have any complaints about Judas Priest. They were just a little more mainstream than I was into. I know Judas Priest being mainstream, right? They were kind of, they were metal. They were kind of rock. I was a few more steps down. I was listening to Iron Maiden, and then, like I said, the real metal started coming out there, mid 80s. But I was always into Motorhead and stuff, but I was into guys like Robin Trower and stuff too. So I had quite and of course Led Zeppelin. I had every Led Zeppelin record ever made, including Song Remains the Same. And, listen to them Zeppelin records a lot. And still to this day, folks, I mean, we know what they were. We know they were, it was a Masonic band. We know it was propaganda. We know they were casting spells on us all. But they had to be the best band to ever walk the face of the earth. In my opinion, it's funny because I'm a guitar player and not really a singer, but no one's ever took my microphone away, so I still use that thing too. But when people ask me nowadays, people used to ask me, who's your favorite guitar player? And you know the list: Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Randy Rhoads, of course. Randy Rhoads was my first favorite, best guitar player. Deservedly so. The guy was a monster, playing so raw too, folks. You just don't hear guys play that raw. I mean, yeah, he had some effects and distortion and stuff, but when you listen to Randy Rhoads play on them first two Ozzy albums, man, he is picking that shit, and he's picking it clean, man. And Randy Rhoads was shredding, boys. Shredding, right? So Randy Rhoads, high on the list of the greats. My personal opinion, probably a fabricated death. But we're not going to go there because that's not the topic this morning. Do I think Randy Rhoads died? Probably not, folks. Same with the John Bonham. But anyway, by the way, that's what I was talking about. People ask me my favorite guitar players. Of course, there's a list. But nowadays, when people say, who's your favorite guitar player? Who's your favorite, I always go, well, I don't know really who my favorite guitar player is. Maybe Albert King. He's definitely high on the list is Albert King. One of the greats of all time as far as capturing emotion from a guitar. One of the greats of all time would be Albert King. But I tend to tell people, I don't know who the best guitar player is of all time, but I can tell you who I probably think is the greatest musician to ever walk the face of the earth while we were all alive. And that might be John Bonham. And it's rare to say that about a drummer being the best musician on the planet, because drummers pretty much just get drunk and bang on shit, right? John Bonham may be the best musician to ever walk the face of the earth. He's certainly probably my favorite. Somebody says, who's your favorite musician of all time? I throw him the old curveball and I say probably John Bonham. And it's, absolutely no way Zeppelin could have ever been Zeppelin without John Bonham. I mean, he kind of was Led Zeppelin, but that signature sound, those old Ludwigs, loosely tuned, them loose drum skins, that notorious John Bonham sound. You can't even find a guy that can tune his drums like that, let alone play them that way. That was weird what just happened with the light, eh? I don't know. But, it is what it is. Maybe it was my lighter threw the thing off. I don't know. Apparently, this video is going to suck because I haven't even got on topic. I'm still thinking about the Judas Priest concert in 1984. Maybe I'll just leave it at that, eh? Everybody go look at the Judas Priest concert from 1984 and watch these kids and realize all of those kids became guys like me. Now, let me change that. Very few people hung on to the 80's as much as Lucky did. I mean, I still call them records. All right, I still want to play guitar, drink beer, chase girls, and listen to records, right? I ain't changed a bit. But I don't chase girls anymore, by the way. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary. I don't want to chase girls anymore. Cross that off the list. I'm scared to death of women now. I'm 52 years old. I never was scared of them. I used to put them on a pedestal. But you get to be my age, you learn. You get wise. Fear the female. Fear the female, boys. Anyway, I don't chase girls anymore. But all the rest, I've never let go of the 80's. Why would I? Go check out the parking lot of the Judas Priest concert, and then you come back and say, I see why you never left the 80's, Lucky. But yeah, you want to talk about a bunch of hammered people having a good time. Notice how life was without the cell phones. I think that's the most important thing that you're going to take from that video. And I get it, man. A lot of these people, look, everybody's hammered. You got to understand that. These people, they come across as being real dumb and whatnot. And, I don't know. Perhaps, people weren't as wise back then. I don't know. But trust me, they're hammered. That's what we did in the 80's. It was a giant party. And when a concert came to town, you partied all day. Now, I went to so many of these giant, they were events. They weren't just concerts. They were day-long events. Everything about them was incredible. The ride to the concert, because everybody was going. So out on the roads, on the freeways, everybody's partying, hanging out of their vehicles with signs, Judas Priest or, Van Halen, whatever it was, I mean, when Van Halen came to Cobo Arena in 1984, they played like 5 nights straight. They sold it out night after night after night after night. I remember standing in line waiting to get tickets. They kept selling out the show, and then half the line would leave. Like, we didn't even get up there yet. The first Van Halen show in 1984 at Cobo Hall sold out in like 3 minutes. It was like insane. But that was, David Lee Roth in the band. It was a great show, of course. David Lee Roth was the ultimate front man in those days. But anyway, they were huge parties, folks, all day long. The parking lots were rocking, and after the concert was an incredible party. Everybody's really hammered after the concert, plus they're full of all that adrenaline. Because back then, the only way you got to see these guys was live, live. That's where you go see them, and you couldn't just click on a YouTube video and see the guys jamming. Like, you had to go see them. It was a major event. And, after the concerts was always just incredible. Being outside in Detroit at, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're driving away and it's stop and go traffic because 35,000 people were at the gig and everybody's hanging out of their vehicles and yelling and screaming. It was a giant party. No cell phones, none needed. Nowadays, people can't even imagine traveling an hour to a concert and being there with no connections to anywhere, no phones. What if something goes wrong? What if the car breaks down? Blah, 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 blah. None of that shit mattered back then, folks. You just have a good time. Didn't need a cell phone. I never had a desire or a need for a cell phone. And when you're downtown Detroit, there are no payphones either because they all got stolen or broke. So, but we didn't need to get a hold of anybody. We had our buddies. We were good. We're going to make it one way or another. We're going to figure it all out. But anyway, folks, good times. And it was a party all day long, every day. I mean, every concert. Well, it was pretty much a party all day long, every day anyway. But, I'd be lying if I didn't say, but by 1985, 86, I mean, we're crouched down in the back of the bus now, drinking MD 2020 on the way to school, doing one-hitters on the bus. Yes, we're showing up at school at 8 o'clock, high and drunk. The 80's were great, and I loved school all the way through. Now, why did I love school? There was girls. No doubt about it. Loved school. It was just a social event to me. It was easy for me, and it was a social event, and I loved it. I loved it. It was just one giant party. Going to high school in the 80s was just one giant party. I graduated in 1988, folks, by the way, with honors. I'd be lying if I said that. I got thrown out of high school in my senior year, got caught with 3 joints, and they suspended me for 10 days. So I came back with E's in every class. And I was, pretty much an all A student most of the time, some B's and stuff in high school. I did not care. Yes, I'm the dude that would hand my homework to the chick behind me and ask for help and blah, blah, blah. Here, do this for me. You know what I mean? Never took homework home, folks, all through school. Never brought it home, ever. And people go, don't you got homework? I go, hell no. If I can't do it in the 8 hours I'm in school, give me a break, man. If you can't get your homework done in all that time you're in school, it only would take me a few minutes. A little help from my friends, whatever. Get through that garbage so you can get back to partying. That's all. But I never brought books home and shit like that. Ever, folks. Ever. After school was more party time. Homework. The 80s. Oh. Take me back home, folks. Anyway, now it's 2022, and I'm going to have to get off these here cigarettes that are left over from the 80s. I got a friend I went to high school with. Actually, he didn't go to my high school, but we're approximately the same age, put it that way. And, we've been partying since just after high school, and he still smokes and drinks, and I still smoke, drink a little here and there. When we talk to each other and you get that little smoker's cough, he likes to go, yeah, it ain't easy being cool, is it? Didn't turn out to be so easy being cool. Anyway, I gotta quit these Marlboros, y'all. 52 years old. Ain't got much reason to be doing this stuff anymore. Gotta let go of the 80s, man. But, you know how it goes, folks. I've been forced to delay. Listen, the Procrastinators Anonymous meeting for this week has been postponed. And I just haven't got around to rescheduling it yet. You know what I'm saying? Go with that. I don't know, folks. This is the first time I've ever been this old. I'm just learning how to do it. But, it is what it is. Hell, I don't know. I guess I'll leave it at that, folks. This is the first video about nothing. I don't know what this video is about. What am I going to call it? We'll just call it Lucky's High this morning and talks about the 80s. Ask yourself, who can I help today? I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And your moment of truth today is the 80s fucking rocked. Stay true, y'all.